I'm just assuming that everybody here has, or most of you maybe, have read the good book. And if you have read it, you know that in it, it says that God made everything. But it doesn't say anything in there about God having made frogs. And that's because he didn't make frogs. He made tadpoles, and then he turned them tadpoles into frogs. And this is how and why it happened. Now, if you've ever made tadpoles, you know it's just as easy to make a whole lot of them as it is to make just one. So that's what God did. He made a whole lot of tadpoles, and they were everywhere. They were getting to be a bit of a nuisance, dropping out of trees, all in the grasses and the bushes. You could not step out of your house without somebody yelling, "Whoa, tadpoles!" And you'd have to go tipping around trying not to step on the little things. They were getting to be mighty annoying. So God called all the tadpoles to him. And they came running. "Yes, Lord! Yes, Lord!" "Tadpoles," he said. "You know, there's a corn patch down by the creek yonder that's just choked up with weeds. And if we don't get those weeds out of there, we'll never have good sweet corn to enjoy this summer. So I want you to go down to that corn patch and weed it." "Yes, Lord, we'll do that for you, Lord." So they all went down to that corn patch and they started pulling weeds. And every tadpole was working together and working so hard, but it was a really hot day. And as the day wore on, they got slower and slower about pulling those weeds. Well, old Nick just happened to be out for his constitutional, and he walked by, and he noticed those tadpoles. And he asked them, "Tadpoles, what are you doing?" And they all said, "Well, we're pulling weeds. We're pulling these weeds." Nick said, "The weeds are growing faster than you're pulling them. You know, you may not have noticed, but there's this nice little cool mountain stream just running by the edge of this corn patch. And if you were to dip into that water just a little bit, you'd come out all refreshed, and you'd be pulling weeds just as fast as you were, and you'd have this patch done in no time." "Well, I don't know," said the tadpoles. "Lord didn't say nothing about swimming. He sent us down here to pull these weeds." But old Nick just worked on them until finally one, and it only took one, decided to try it. And when that little tadpole edged over to the creek and then jumped in, it felt great. And he called out to the others, "Come on in, the water's fine." And they all slipped into the water. And not only was it cool and refreshing, it was moving. It had current that they could play with. They could swim up against the current and then turn around and get a big old ride downstream. And they could dive down deep and come up in an eddy and get a little breath, a little rest, and then go back out and fight the current again. And then they discovered the mud down at the bottom of the creek, and it was fabulous on their soft, smooth skin. They loved it. Time went by, and old Nick was out for another constitutional. Just happened to run into God. And he said, God, how's your creating going? And God said, oh, it's good, Nick. It's mighty good. And Nick said, well, I don't know. Some of these critters you're making are mighty trifling. Trifling? Yes, trifling. Take them tadpoles, for instance. I know that you sent them down to that corn patch to weed it, and I just walked by that corn patch, and I didn't see nary a tadpole, and it's just as choked up with weeds as it ever was. Said the Lord. And he called those tadpoles to him. And they came running. Yes, Lord. Yes, Lord. Tadpoles, he asked, what have you been doing? Oh, we've been swimming. That's what we've been doing. We've been swimming. And what did I send you down there to do? Pull weeds? You sent us down there to pull weeds. So, why were you swimming? Well, they didn't have an answer. That's because there wasn't a good answer. So the Lord said to them, well, because you did not do what you were told to do, I'm going to cut off your tails. Oh, no! Please don't do that, Lord. Oh, that would hurt something awful. And then if we were accidentally fall into the water, we wouldn't have our tails so that we could swim. Oh, please don't cut off our tails. Well, the Lord heard their plea, and he decided to be merciful. But he still needed to cut off their tails because the Lord always does what he says he's going to do. But he knew that he could let them sprout legs, and then they'd have something that they could swim with. So that's just what he did. He cut off all their tails and let them sprout legs, and pretty soon every single last one of them tadpoles became frogs. And you know, if you was to get yourself a bunch of tadpoles today, if you kept them long enough, they'd lose their tails, and they'd sprout legs, and all them tadpoles would turn into frogs. And still, today, tadpoles are mighty poor hands at pulling weeds. How the tadpoles lost their tails.